Hello, I'm Fast Lawyer. Today we are going to review Medal of Honor Above and Beyond VR, a game released on the Steam Store December 10th, 2020 by developer Respawn Entertainment. It's available for all the major VR headsets. It originally did retail for $50, however they recently lowered the price to $40, and I bought it in the most recent Steam fall sale for $32. And I tested the game out on both the MetaQuest 2 and also the HP Reverb G2. Medal of Honor Above and Beyond is a World War II shooter. It has a deep single-player campaign across several locations in Europe. There's also multiplayer, but the multiplayer is dead at this point. However, you can play against bots. Unfortunately, the bot AI is not very good, so it's just not very fun to do the multiplayer by yourself. So my review will not really touch on multiplayer. There's also a survival mode and several extras, which includes footage, including 360 videos of the various historical locations and the people involved. I do think the extras are worth checking out, but my review will focus on the single player campaign. I want to estimate it took me approximately 12 hours to complete the single player campaign. However, I did come across a bug where the game would not quit upon exit and I had to kill the game executable process. So my game time is just an estimate. Now I do have mixed feelings about Medal of Honor VR. There were things I really liked about this game, and there were lots of things I also did not like. I think the best way I can describe Medal of Honor is that it is an arcade shooter with almost a shooting gallery type gameplay where you shoot in certain parts of the game and then you sit through several cinematic scenes. Now the story itself is interesting at times, but it's also very silly and it does not take itself seriously, which kind of goes against the extras in the game. The extras in this game want to take the war seriously, but then you actually play the game and you're just in these out of left field scenarios during World War II that just really don't make sense. You're figuratively and almost literally jumping the shark in parts of this game. You go from joining the French resistance, where the French mayor is a Nazi sympathizer, but then he decides to switch sides and then switch sides again, and then by the end you're all friends and allies, and it just didn't make a lot of sense. And then you join the Normandy invasion, where you're storming the beaches of Omaha, and it's a pretty serious scene where there's lots of heavy casualties and you see some of the horror of war. But then right after you go to some underwater sub scenes where you're swimming around sharks, and then for some odd reason you're going all the way to Norway where you're skiing and shooting, and then you're trying to outrun an avalanche on a snowmobile, and then finally you go to Peenemünde where you're sabotaging some secret scientist lab. This game's story was all over the place and it was just silly by the end. I'm just surprised the game did not end by you arm wrestling Hitler. So the story ends up being way over the top and you end up feeling like you're Rambo in World War II. On the other hand, I know some of you are listening to this and you're saying that's an awesome game, I want to play it. And that's fine. This is a silly but fun arcade shooter, but it's not respectful to the extras in this game. It does not present war in a realistic or sombering fashion that would have gone well with the extras they put in this game. And basically the Nazis are just shooting target practices that pop out once in a while, and you shoot them all, you do a cinematic scene, and you go on to the next. Similarly, the weapon handling here is not very realistic. It's very much on the arcade side. Now there is an okay variety of weapons, and for the most part they do tend to behave differently. The SMG will feel different than the assault rifle. The assault rifle will feel differently than the sniper rifle, and the sniper rifle will feel different than the shotgun or the pistols. And they have the strengths and weaknesses that you would assume would be the case for this type of game, where the shotguns are good up close but they don't do much damage from a distance, where the sniper rifles are good at range but they don't do very good up close with several enemies nearby. Reloads were done manually, but again very much on the arcade side, and the weapons automatically stowed on your holsters if you let go of them. You do have magnet hands for grabbing grabbing objects including ammo and weapons, as well as several collectibles. Medal of Honor Above and Beyond is running on the Unreal Engine. On my RTX 3080 I was getting variable frame rates. For the most part it did run at 90 frames per second, but I did notice during several scenes, especially during intense combat, that the frame rates would drop on my RTX 3080. And I did have the game on high graphical settings. I did notice that on my HP Reverb G2 the game would run much worse given the native resolution of that headset is much higher than the Oculus Quest 2. You do have full locomotion and smooth and snap turning available, along with several comfort options, and yes, there is a button to crouch. And there's also several graphical and sound options available. You can also change the difficulty of the game. I do highly recommend you make sure that scopes is set to realistic in the settings. Now, I did experience some bugs during my playtime. The only serious one was the game did crash when I was playing it with Windows Mixed Reality. However, I did not experience any crashes on the Meta Quest 2, and most of the bugs were just of the annoying type, such as clipping or certain areas that were difficult to go through with some pathing issues, but I was never stuck in a certain area, and maybe the enemy AI not always acting appropriately, and some graphical glitches like being able to see through solid objects at times. And there were also some invisible barriers in some locations. However, I will say that in this game most of the locations did look amazing, and while there's some crazy scenes in this game, they were awesome to experience in VR. My biggest gripe as far as some of the set scenes is that some of them had head gaze based aiming, which really should be a no-no for most developers, and it's pretty obvious that Respawn did know how to do these scenes without making it head gaze based. They just chose to do it this way. The 3D models weren't always the best, and they do have like this plastic type look that always kept people and places not looking as realistic as they probably otherwise could. However, the environments for the most part look great, and this game is actually one of the better looking games in VR, especially on the HP Reverb G2. There's a lot of attention to detail in these environmental scenes, and there's also just a huge variety between these scenes. One of them you're underwater, then you're in the snow skiing, and then you're in the air shooting down other planes. And definitely in my opinion the best part of this game is when you're storming the beaches of Normandy, and there probably is not a better scene in VR. There's lots of detail here. There's not another game that puts you in this very momentous place and time in history with this much visual fidelity. And I wish the game had focused more on this type of action when you're in Normandy versus starting off with joining the French resistance, because I do feel that this game does start off on the wrong foot, and by the time you get to Normandy you're like, how did I get here? It's just a very disjointed game, and I don't think the developer really knew what they wanted from this game. If they wanted to make a realistic war game in VR where you get to experience these historic battles, they should have focused on that. Instead, it's a hodgepodge of different experiences, and it doesn't always work, and it feels like at times it's a bunch of different mini shooting gallery games just all rolled up into one. Now, I did like the musical soundtrack for this game. I thought they did a great job with that. However, the voice acting was kind of all over the place, and not all the characters were well written, so it's very difficult to blame the voice actors themselves when they have this material to work with. The sound mix I felt was very much on the arcade side. The weapons did not sound realistic to me, and I definitely think the spatial audio could have been done much better here. Overall, I know I've been criticizing this game a lot, but I did enjoy playing it, but I see this game as a missed opportunity. It could have been so much better. Instead, they aimed low and they hit the mark, so it's still a nice game, but it could have been great, and it's not a great game. So if I have to rate Medal of Honor, I would give it a 7 out of 10. It's a good arcade, silly game, and if you just turn your brain off, it can be a fun experience, and there's some nice eye candy here. Anyways, I'm Fast Lawyer. That's my review for Medal of Honor VR Above and Beyond. If you enjoyed my review, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And as always, have a wonderful day. Goodbye.